Hi guys, welcome to day 4. Today when we began class, we had about 10 minutes to complete a quizzes. So if you go to Google Classroom under asynchronous learning, you will have a link there, an assignment posted that is quizzes. You can go through and click on the link and join it to get it complete. Okay, let me show you so we can be sure. Okay, so if you're here in Google Classroom, right, under asynchronous learning, there is something posted for today, Tuesday, August 25th. That is the quizzes that you need to go to. Okay, you can click here and it'll take you straight there, or you can go to joinmyquiz.com and enter the code that is here on screen. Okay. Okay, I added this slide here because I am going to put a new link in our Google Classroom. Okay, so under resources, there is now a new link. So if you go to Google Classroom under resources where it says Desmos calculator, when you get there, you will have to select graphing calculator and start practice. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. Okay, here we are again in our Google Classroom. I just clicked on the classwork tab. I'm scrolling past. I'm going to my resources. Okay, I already posted it for you. So if you click on link here, it takes you directly to the Desmos page where you need to be picking the graphing calculator. Then you can start practice. Okay, so our learning target for today is I can simplify expressions using distributive property. Okay, and our success checklist is to distribute the outside number to each term inside parentheses. Okay, and we're going to take some notes to make sure that we understand what terms are. When you distribute, you are multiplying, and our final step would be to box our answer. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and go to our journal. We're going to take notes on an expression versus an equation, and also what makes a term here inside of our expression right here where the parentheses are. Okay, so if you open up your journal to our notes that we took yesterday, opposite operations and two-step, we're going to flip the opposite operations over and we're going to start there on that back page. Okay, so this is where we are going to start distributive property. So the first idea I want to talk about is an expression versus an equation. Okay, so an expression does not have an equal sign. You will not have a final answer with an equal sign in it. Okay, your equation is the one that has x equals or another variable equal to a number or a value. Okay, so again, an expression does not have an equal sign. Okay, you will not have a final answer that looks like an x equals because those are our equations. Okay, so a term now, so let's say we had the problem 2 parentheses x plus 3. Okay, so when I say inside parentheses, that's where we find our terms, and that's what we know to distribute. Okay, so the operation symbol separates my terms. So I have one term here. I'm going to include the symbol with it along with the number here. So I have my second term, which is a positive 3. Okay, so if you put an arrow here pointing to these are our terms. Okay, so if we do the actual distributive property, we take the number that's on the outside, right? When it's next to the parentheses, it means multiply. So every time I distribute, I'm going to multiply. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 times x. That becomes 2x. Then I'm going to do 2 times a positive 3. So I'm getting a positive 6. Okay, my final answer, because I cannot combine those two, they are not like terms. Okay, so I'm going to do one more example, but this time I'm going to do it a little bit smaller over here, and I'm going to involve a negative sign this time. So I'm going to say this time 2x minus 3. Okay, this minus sign breaks it down into 2 terms in here. But this time I'm going to use that minus sign, and it's going to become a negative 3 in here. Okay, so I'm still going to distribute to each term. So when I distribute, remember we multiply. So 2 times x becomes 2x. This time I'm doing 2 times a negative 3 because that minus sign goes with this number right here, the number that is to the right of it. So this time I get a negative 6. So when I'm writing my final answer, the negative is now a minus, so it's 2x minus 6. Okay, we're going to do one more example that involves a number inside of our parentheses with our variable. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say negative 5 parentheses negative 3x plus 8. Okay, so this plus sign, remember, separates it into 2 terms. Okay, I'm going to take my number on the outside, my negative 5, and I'm going to distribute it to my first term and to my second term. Okay, remember when we multiply negatives, if you have a negative times a negative, it equals a positive. If you have a negative times a positive, that's a negative. Positive times a positive, positive, or the last option would be a positive and a negative. Okay, that also works with division. It does not work with addition and subtraction. Okay, so you can't remember that rule for adding and subtracting. Only when you multiply or divide. Okay, so back to our problem. So I have a negative 5 times a negative 3x. Negative times a negative makes a positive 15x. Do not forget your variable. Then I have negative 5 times positive 8. So that's going to become a negative 40. Remember, with expressions, we are just simplifying. We are not getting a final answer that looks like our equation up here. So we should not be having x equals any number. Okay? Okay, and the last thing we're going to talk about is how to access your Jamboard. Okay, if you go to Google Classroom, under asynchronous learning, you will have your Jamboard posted for you there, along with the presentation you are watching and the video that I'm making. Okay, each slide is a new problem, so make sure you're following directions that are given on the sticky notes on the side. Okay, so once you open up Jamboard from Google Classroom under asynchronous learning, you will come to this screen that says use the distributive property to simplify the expression. Okay, if you look here, there are 5 slides in this presentation. Okay, you can scroll through them here. There's only 4 problems. The 5th slide tells you to stop and go submit your work. Okay, these slides are interactive. Okay, so if you look here, if you notice on the left-hand side, there are buttons that you can click. So you can select a pen, a marker, a highlighter, okay, and you can draw here on the screen. Okay, you can erase. You can add sticky notes, pick the color you want. You can add a text box. Okay, you've got to pick the color before you do the text box though, because then it won't let you change it. Okay, so there are ways to work around not having a touchscreen or using a device that is touchscreen. So you can draw with your mouse, or you can come select over here. You can use shapes, right, to help you in here. Right, if you want to highlight something specific or show me what your final answer is, right, you can do that. The number of the problem will be here in pink, right? So if you go through the next problem, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Remember the last one was stop, go submit your work.